A man trapped in his apartment, a camera lens pointed at his neighbors, and a mystery that turns curiosity into pure fear. That's Rear Window, Alfred Hitchcock's 1954 masterpiece that redefined suspense. It's stylish, haunting, and full of secrets, both on screen and behind it. From massive sets to strange filming experiments to real stories of obsession that inspired it, this film hides more than meets the eye. So let's open the blinds and discover 20 weird facts you didn't know about Rear Window. Fact 1. The entire courtyard was a giant indoor set. Rear Window takes place almost entirely inside one apartment courtyard, but that world wasn't real. It was a single, gigantic set built inside Paramount Studios. The crew literally dug into the floor of Stage 18 to create multiple building levels. The set was 98 feet wide, 185 feet long, and 40 feet deep. It contained 31 fully designed apartments, with some even having working plumbing and kitchens. Hitchcock wanted total control over every window, shadow, and beam of light. Actors didn't just perform, they lived there during filming. Each one had a backstory and daily routine, even if the camera never showed it. The result was one of the most detailed movie sets in Hollywood history, a miniature world ruled by Hitchcock's eye for precision. Fact 2. Hitchcock never left Jeff's apartment. To make the audience truly feel confined like James Stewart's character, Hitchcock decided he wouldn't step outside the main apartment either. He directed everything from inside the room using long lenses, monitors, and radio communication to reach actors across the courtyard. He wanted the experience to be claustrophobic, both for himself and the crew. Hitchcock said, "If the character can't move, neither can we." The sound team even designed echo effects to simulate how voices would travel from one apartment to another, depending on how the courtyard was built. It was like filming a stage play trapped in a box, and it made the tension feel painfully real. Fact 3. Grace Kelly's wardrobe told a secret story. Grace Kelly's costumes in Rear Window weren't just glamorous, they were part of the storytelling. Each outfit symbolized Lisa Fremont's emotional shift. At first, she appears in luxurious gowns, distant from Jeff's rugged, adventurous life. But as the story unfolds and danger grows, her clothes become simpler, more practical, and darker in color. By the time she climbs into the suspected murderer's apartment, she's wearing plain pants and a blouse, literally stepping into Jeff's world. Costume designer Edith Head worked closely with Hitchcock to build this visual arc. Grace Kelly's final outfit wasn't just chic, it showed transformation through fabric. Fact 4. Hitchcock got the idea from a real story. The movie was based on Cornell Woolrich's short story, It Had to Be Murder, but Hitchcock found personal meaning in it. He was fascinated by how humans love watching others' lives, something he once called the cinematic sin. Hitchcock himself lived across from a courtyard in London when he was younger and admitted to spying on his neighbors through their windows. He later said, "Everyone does it, only a few get caught." That small truth became the movie's dark heart. Rear Window asks the uncomfortable question, are we all voyeurs when we watch others' pain for entertainment? It's a question that still feels relevant today, especially in an era of constant surveillance. Fact 5. Every neighbor was an actor, living a real routine. Those tiny, distant figures seen through Jeff's window, they weren't extras pretending for the camera. They were actors living full daily lives inside their apartments. Each had a complete script, backstory, and schedule. One couple was told to argue every morning. The struggling songwriter really played piano live during takes. And Miss Lonely Hearts was instructed to go through her heartbreaking dinner ritual, even if she wasn't being filmed. Hitchcock wanted every detail to feel authentic, as if the audience could pick any window and step into a different movie. The result gave the courtyard a hypnotic realism, a living ecosystem of loneliness, love, and suspicion, all unfolding under Jeff's watchful lens. And that's just the start, because what happened behind the camera was even stranger. Real feuds, psychological tricks, and one scene that nearly broke James Stewart's nerves. So stay tuned, because the next 10 facts will make you see Rear Window in a whole new way. Fact 6. Hitchcock's secret cameo almost went unnoticed. You probably know Alfred Hitchcock loved sneaking himself into his movies, but Rear Window features one of his most subtle cameos ever. Around 25 minutes in, you can spot him winding a clock in the apartment of the struggling songwriter. It lasts only a few seconds and many fans miss it entirely. What makes it weirder is why he chose that moment. Hitchcock said the songwriter represented himself, an artist struggling to create under pressure. So in a sense, he wasn't just appearing in the movie. He was silently inserting himself into the story's theme of observation and control. Even his cameo had a purpose. It's a blink and you'll miss it symbol of the director's godlike presence over this tiny world. Fact 7. James Stewart was terrified of looking boring. James Stewart had played heroes, detectives, and even cowboys. But sitting still for an entire movie? That scared him. Stewart worried that his character, confined to a wheelchair, would come across as dull or lifeless. To fix this, Hitchcock worked closely with him to make Jeff's mind the most active thing on screen. Every eye movement, every breath, every flick of his camera lens became a form of action. Hitchcock told him, "You're not paralyzed. Your curiosity is running wild." Stewart practiced subtle facial expressions for weeks in front of a mirror. He had to convey suspicion, fear, and obsession, all without moving an inch. The performance was so effective that audiences forgot they were watching a man who couldn't walk. Stewart turned stillness into tension. Fact 8. Grace Kelly's entrance took 30 takes. One of the film's most iconic moments is Lisa's first entrance, when Grace Kelly leans in to kiss Jeff in slow motion. It looks effortless, but it took nearly 30 takes to get right. Hitchcock wanted the moment to feel dreamlike, like a fantasy stepping into reality. He meticulously adjusted the lighting, her movements, and even the tempo of her breathing. Grace Kelly said later that Hitchcock directed her as if I were a piece of music. The camera zoomed in slowly as her face moved closer, creating the illusion that time itself had paused. That entrance defined Grace Kelly's screen presence forever, a mixture of elegance, mystery, and danger. It was cinema poetry, crafted one frame at a time. Fact 9. The film almost had a totally different ending, believe it or not. Hitchcock considered several alternate endings. In one version, the police would refuse to believe Jeff's accusations, leaving him helpless as the killer escapes. Another version had Lisa injured instead of Jeff, giving the story a darker, more tragic tone. But Hitchcock finally chose the version we know today, where Jeff's curiosity leads to both justice and punishment. He ends up with 2 broken legs, symbolizing how his obsession literally traps him. Hitchcock called it justice through irony. Even after solving the mystery, Jeff is stuck, proof that watching too closely can destroy you. It's one of the director's most brilliant moral twists hidden in plain sight. Fact 10. Real police were used in the climax scene, the tense final moments. When the killer returns and attacks Jeff, were so realistic that Hitchcock hired real off-duty cops to play the responding officers. He wanted their movements, radio chatter, and urgency to feel authentic. During filming, the studio lights were so hot that the actors were sweating through their uniforms, adding genuine exhaustion to the scene. Hitchcock even made them run the stairs over and over until their breathlessness matched real adrenaline. When the flashbulbs go off in Jeff's hand, blinding the killer, those light bursts were real too, painfully bright flashes that left James Stewart seeing spots between takes. The result was one of the most intense sequences in 1950s cinema, a masterclass in how realism fuels fear. Fact 11. The film's sound was built like a symphony. Every sound you hear in Rear Window, from the clinking of glasses to the distant piano music, was carefully designed to make you feel like you were living inside that apartment complex. Hitchcock didn't want traditional background music. Instead, he wanted the city itself to sing. Composer Franz Waxman built the entire soundtrack around diegetic sounds, meaning everything the audience hears is something the characters could also hear. The piano player's melody, the neighbors arguing, the couple's dog barking, all form a kind of real-life symphony. Hitchcock said it was his most musical film without music. It's what gives Rear Window its eerie feeling of being both peaceful and dangerous at the same time. A world that feels alive, yet constantly watching. Fact 12. While the murder was based on a real crime. The film's chilling central story, a man possibly murdering his wife and hiding the body, wasn't just imagination. Hitchcock was inspired by a real case from 1924 known as the Patrick Mahon murder. Mahon killed his mistress, dismembered her, and tried to hide the remains in a tiny flat. The disturbing case haunted Hitchcock for years, and he eventually blended its details into Rear Window. Even the way Jeff pieces together the mystery, using clues, timing, and behavior, mirrors how detectives caught Mon. Hitchcock once told his crew, "Truth is always stranger than fiction, but only if you dare to look through the window." That real-life horror made the movie's tension feel so authentic that audiences couldn't shake it for days after watching. Fact 13. Hitchcock manipulated his cast like a scientist. Hitchcock was known for treating his sets like experiments, and Rear Window was one of his most extreme examples. He controlled every reaction, every moment of emotion. To make James Stewart appear genuinely tired and frustrated, Hitchcock purposely shot scenes out of order and made Stewart sit for hours under hot lights. For Grace Kelly, he gave subtle directions meant to confuse her, like play the scene as if you love him, but also as if you hate yourself for it. This psychological push and pull created real tension between the actors that translated beautifully on camera. It's weird to think about, but Hitchcock didn't just direct his actors, he studied them. He wanted real emotion, even if it came from discomfort. Fact 14. The set was so real, it needed a weather system. The massive apartment courtyard wasn't a collection of random facades. It was a fully functioning ecosystem. The studio built a huge tank under the set to manage drainage for the rain scenes, and used powerful lights to simulate sunlight moving through the day. There was even a custom ventilation system to keep the air flowing between the apartments. Some actors lived inside their fake apartments during long filming days just to stay in character. Hitchcock's attention to realism made it easy for the audience to forget it was all fake, and that was exactly his plan. He wanted viewers to feel trapped in that courtyard, sharing the same heat, boredom, and anxiety as Jeff. Fact 15. The film's tension comes from stillness, not action. Unlike typical thrillers, Rear Window doesn't rely on car chases, fights, or explosions. Instead, Hitchcock built tension through stillness. Every minute you spend watching Jeff watch others adds to the suspense. You start noticing details: a missing woman, a strange suitcase, a man moving in the dark. By making the audience feel like voyeurs, Hitchcock turned ordinary moments into heart-pounding drama. Even the smallest gestures, a man smoking, a curtain fluttering, feel dangerous because we're not supposed to be watching. It's a psychological trick that still influences modern thrillers today. From Disturbia to The Woman in the Window, Hitchcock proved you don't need chaos to create fear. Sometimes silence is the loudest scream. And the best part? The final 5 facts reveal how Rear Window changed cinema forever, influenced generations of filmmakers, and hid one of Hitchcock's most personal secrets. So stick around, because what's coming next will blow your mind. Fact 16. Hitchcock hid his own fears. In the film, Hitchcock was terrified of being watched. He once said his greatest fear wasn't being murdered, it was being observed without knowing. Rear Window became his way of confronting that paranoia. The movie isn't just about Jeff spying on others, it's about all of us, how we love to watch but hate being seen. Critics later realized the film mirrored Hitchcock's own obsession with control and surveillance. Every shot of Jeff behind that camera lens is a reflection of Hitchcock behind his own, trying to control every move, every emotion, every secret. It's like the director built a confession into the film disguised as entertainment. Fact 17. Hitchcock used real neighbors to inspire each mini-story. Remember all those colorful neighbors: the lonely dancer, the newlyweds, the songwriter, and the dog owners? None of them were random. Hitchcock based each one on real people he'd observed from his London apartment decades earlier. He would sit by his window and imagine their stories, wondering what kind of lives they lived behind closed doors. When Rear Window was made, he turned those daydreams into reality. He even gave the extras personal backstories so they'd behave like real neighbors, not actors waiting for their cue. Some of them even cooked real meals or read books inside their fake apartments during filming. It's why the movie feels so alive. Every window tells its own little truth. Fact 18. A single prop cost more than a car. The camera that Jeff uses, that old heavy telephoto lens, wasn't just a movie prop. It was a real military-grade camera designed for long-distance reconnaissance during World War II. Hitchcock borrowed it from a government supplier and modified it for filming. The lens alone cost more than a brand new car in 1954. It was so powerful that during breaks, crew members used it to spy on other studio sets for fun, until Hitchcock banned it, fearing they'd accidentally film something too real. That same lens later inspired filmmakers to develop specialized spy cameras used in Cold War movies. So yes, Rear Window actually changed film technology in a small but fascinating way. Fact 19. The film's message was almost lost on censors. In the 1950s, Hollywood censors were extremely strict about morality, and Rear Window walked a dangerous line. The idea of a man spying on his neighbors, especially watching women undress, was seen as indecent. Hitchcock fought to keep those scenes, arguing they were essential to the story's message, that curiosity can turn into guilt. He even added clever visual tricks to make the scenes suggestive without being explicit. For example, he used quick cuts, silhouettes, and reflections instead of showing too much. The result? He got away with everything. The film passed censorship while still making audiences uncomfortable. A perfect Hitchcock balance between temptation and taboo. Fact 20. It's still one of Hitchcock's most copied films. Decades after its release, Rear Window continues to inspire modern filmmakers. Brian De Palma's Body Double, Shia LaBeouf's Disturbia, and even The Woman in the Window all borrow from its voyeuristic setup. The idea of a character trapped in one place, forced to observe danger through a window or screen, became a timeless storytelling formula. Film schools around the world use Rear Window to teach visual storytelling, how to build tension with perspective, framing, and silence. Hitchcock didn't just make a mystery, he created a blueprint for thrillers. It's proof that even 70 years later, one man's fear of being watched still has the power to watch us. Rear Window isn't just a movie, it's a mirror. It reflects how humans crave connection, curiosity, and control. Every time you scroll through social media or peek into someone's life online, you're living a modern version of Jeff's story. Hitchcock predicted our obsession with watching before the internet even existed. It's weird, brilliant, and deeply human. So if you loved these strange behind-the-scenes details, make sure to subscribe, because the next film we're covering is going to take movie weirdness to a whole new level.